Oh my God, you're gonna love it.
Hey folks, welcome to the AI Chicks, where we're providing you cool conversations about AI for all. With each episode bringing you a different topic on how AI impacts your daily life. I'm your host, Aishwin, always coming in hot with that fun new perspective on tech. And of course, I got my bestie here.
Hi guys, I'm Lana Hout. I'm bringing you the curls, that charisma, and that entrepreneurial energy. So today,
What are we getting into, Lana?
we are talking about AI in our daily life, which you know is the foundation of all things AI Chicks.
I know, so it's wild that we've never actually had an episode that's just focused on this, but I love that we're doing it and we have a great expert for it.
Yes, Mike Todasco is going to be speaking to us about his experience with AI in our daily life, and he is an ex-PayPal innovation leader. So I'm very excited to hear what he has to say.
All right, y'all, let's get into it.
You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
So welcome, Mike Todasco, to the AI Chicks podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
We wanted to start off, why don't you give our listeners a little background on you?
Sure. I been in the world of AI and technology for a good part of my career. I started way back in the day, actually, as an accountant. And then at some point started my own business, moved out here to Silicon Valley, where I've been for about 20 years now. I was running innovation for PayPal and left there a few years ago to focus full-time on the world of AI. I'm currently a visiting fellow at the James Silberad Brown School of Artificial Intelligence at San Diego State University, which is probably the longest phrase I will say this entire time here. But academia, you get these really long titles. So yes, whatever that is.
Thank you so much for that. We're so happy for you to be here. Today, we're obviously wanting to get into how AI is just impacting our daily lives.
I use it way too much in my daily life. I think I'm too dependent on it already. Look, I think I use it probably more personally than professionally. I use it a ton professionally, but like for my personal life, just example, today, daughter's home sick from school. And as part of that, I am using Dr. ChatGPT to like kind of diagnose all these things, to put all this information in there to kind of figure things out. And like these are things just kind of constantly doing. I have a whole custom GPT set up for myself with all my medical information in there. I haven't done that with my kids because they can't really consent to it yet. But for myself, at some point, I kind of decided any risk in that is worth taking so that this thing has all my blood tests, like scans, anything you can imagine that I've ever had, it's all in there. It knows more about me than my doctors ever could. And that's one of the amazing advantages of using AI and thinking, you know, in the world of medicine, we're moving to a future where that's going to be more integrated into the actual experience. And that's going to be a wonderful thing. But until we get there, I'll just hack it through ChatGPT as part of that. But everything else, like I'm making dinner tonight and I'm not a good chef at all. And I constantly screw up recipes midstream, and I will be using ChatGPT, I am sure, when I'm cooking to say, hey, I just put in garlic salt when I'm supposed to put in garlic powder. What do I do now? Or whatever it might be. And like, I literally, or I'll take a picture of something and like, is that done? So I'm constantly using these things.
That is so fascinating how you are taking your personal information, your daily life, and building out your own chats that best serves you. I know you mentioned briefly there that you're willing to take the risk. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that we hear about all of the medical advancements that will be happening with AI, and they're sort of waiting for the institutions to implement it and make sure that there's all the safeguards pre-existing. But you're taking the innovative step to do it yourself. Obviously, you were part of innovation for PayPal, so maybe this is just how you roll. But how are you looking at the risk around what you're doing right now?
Yeah, you do have to just ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario for this? And look, to be clear, like if we're living in presence online, we're probably in some ways risking our data because we're using, iCloud to store a whole bunch of information. There's levels of risk that we're already dealing with, and most of it we just kind of look past. And with putting your medical data up into ChatGPT, like I decided to do at some point, one, in their policies, they say they're not going to use this information to further train their models. I think that's fairly clear in their policy. But what's in their policy and what's done in reality is a whole other thing. And if they get hacked, if all these other things kind of happen, your data could theoretically become exposed as part of that. And for me, it was like the value and utility I'm going to get now versus the downside of, okay, all of my information's on the open web. Is that a problem to me? And I'm like, yeah, maybe for some insurance stuff, maybe for whatever it could be. For me, though, it was just, I made the decision. I'm like, it's worth it because I'm 47 years old. Things are starting to fall apart and come off the rails a little bit. And if I could do things to have the AI guide me to get back on a little bit, ultimately, that was worth it for me.
How do you think the everyday person should be looking at AI? Is it as a tool? Should they be looking at it as a companion? Microsoft calls it co-pilot, co-workers. So what would you say is the space of how people should be looking at AI at this point?
My preferred description of AI is as a tool right now. I think that is the right way to think about it. We as humans anthropomorphize things all the time. When we look up into the clouds, we see faces or dogs or whatever. We look to the heavens and we see humans in there. Like our brains are actually wired to see human traits in non-human things. These models are so darn good. I trained an AI model on my own voice. And I played something for my wife and the kids, some friends, and others. And basically I was able to fool everybody that it wasn't actually me. And it wasn't hard to do. If you could basically train a model to mimic you for pennies, it gets us down a little bit of a slippery slope of like, we're really going to start to become attached to these models. I don't doubt that at some point we're going to have a her-like future where my kids who are 11 and 13 right now will say they're bringing home a boyfriend or girlfriend for Thanksgiving, and they hold up their device and say, "Hey, here's my girlfriend, here's my boyfriend," or whatever. And
no way, you think that will happen?
Yeah.
Okay, well, on that note then, what would you say are some surprising ways AI is showing up in people's lives? I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
We've all been using AI for quite some time now. We've been using it in Google Maps. We don't have as much spam as we used to 10 years ago. And that's because of AI working behind the scenes to eliminate spam from email. So like, even if people say, I'm not using AI or I don't believe in it, if you have an online presence, that's AI running behind the scenes there. So all of those things are AI. It's just never been front and center where you could actually proactively interact with it. One of my favorite hacks, I've started to make all of my presentations 100% AI image generated. You could actually have the AI do the images and do the text, and it's all in the same JPEG format. That opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. The creativity that you can have in building out your decks, your PowerPoint presentations, telling stories in that format, using AI is going to really add a lot of fun in doing it. As well as just a ton of creativity.
So Mike, your background is obviously in innovation, leading at PayPal. Can you talk a little bit about what was cutting edge back then, but then also what's cutting edge today that you wish you had back then and that would have really led to even bigger growth for PayPal?
I love that question because this is something, it's called hedonic adaptation. It's a psychological term, but basically you kind of get used to the level that you are at. If you go from making $50K a year to $1 million a year, initially it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And 6 months later, your happiness and all these things are going to kind of adjust and you're just going to even out from that. And I think we have done that with these AI tools. If I would have had ChatGPT as it exists today 4 years ago, I probably would have paid $10,000 a month to access that. Maybe more. It would have almost been science fiction. The honest answer is like what we had today is amazingly exciting. What we're going to have tomorrow, like I can't even imagine. I was at NVIDIA's GTC conference earlier this year, and Jan LeCun, who is the head of AI at Meta, was giving a talk, and his response, large language models are boring. and he's very focused on world models. And then to explain to the audience, language models have basically been trained on the internet, but world models will be trained on everything that happens in humanity outside of the internet. 99.9% of human life is not done online. And those are things that models have no idea about. But when you start to bring in everything else from the world into these models, like the theory, they could be so much more helpful. You're going to see, in-home robots, all this other kind of crazy stuff as part of this.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Sure.
To elaborate on that more, where would you see the data points of world models coming from? The first thing my mind goes to when I hear these types of conversations is self-driving cars like Waymo that is picking up real-time world data all around us. But then I also think about how even with some of these LLMs and Gen AIs, we're also uploading real-world data into it because we're putting our videos, we're putting our pictures, we're putting our personal additional information into it that maybe wasn't originally on the internet.
Well, I mean, one of the thoughts and worries, I guess, with the large language models is that the models we're building today is effectively with everything that's on the internet. Yeah, there's some things in the corners that we might be able to pull a little bit more into. There's a lot more that could be done with videos as an example. But for the most part, it's trained on everything. We've kind of captured all the low-hanging fruit that's out there. And now the question is like, okay, well, what else is there to train? Because the thing that we found as we've built these large language models is the more data you feed into them, the smarter they get. So if you can capture everything else that's in the world, truly, I think we're going to see a lot more in the next 6 to 18 months. People just starting companies that might say, hey, we're going to pay you to walk around with a camera and microphone on your forehead and just record everything in your life and tag stuff or whatever. And that's just going to all start to go in there and it's going to be tagged and we're going to eventually, figure all of these things out.
I think that's what they're trying to do with those meta glasses.
And I also know of some AI licensing companies that they want to get content and data off of different sub-communities and subsets and sub-sports that are not popular already digitally on the internet, just real-world subcultures, real-world experiences that are underserved or not tapped into enough. So AI in our daily life, it's really just going to be completely immersed once we get into world models.
Yeah, and I think I just want to pause this conversation to see what AI had to say on the topic.
Oh, yes.
Right? So we actually went to Claude AI and asked Claude AI what it thought about AI in daily life.
According to Claude, artificial intelligence has become an invisible yet pervasive force in everyday life, seamlessly integrated into smartphones through virtual assistants and predictive features, while powering personalized recommendations across streaming platforms and social media that shape our digital experiences. Beyond devices, AI operates in financial systems detecting fraud, manages smart home environments, optimizes transportation systems, enhances workplace productivity through automated tools, and personalizes health applications and educational software. These AI applications collectively represent a fundamental shift in how technology integrates with human activities, often operating so seamlessly that many people don't realize how frequently they interact with artificial intelligence throughout their daily routines.
Claude's smart. I think it's dead on. This is one of the things I'm actually doing research on right now. There is absolutely a perception gap. And I think AI is a poison term in the United States. I think in other parts of the world, it might not be as much. But the actual term artificial intelligence does convey many things that are frankly very negative in society. If you think about all the sci-fi that we have been trained on over the last 60 plus years that we've had this, there is definitely this negative perception. But the reality of AI tools is that we use them. We're using it all the time. If you are living online, you are using these tools. It just might not be upfront. It might be behind the scenes. The thing that I like to do and when talking to people about this and trying to get hold is like the AI revolution is happening and it is going to happen whether folks like it or not. And the thing that I hope and the thing that I like try to preach as much as possible is like, I want the skeptical people to be using these. We need that feedback. It can't be just a bunch of people like me in Silicon Valley that are using these tools that are frankly gaining superpowers because we could do all these things now that we couldn't without these tools before. We need to have others actually using these tools to embrace them, to understand them. I mean, what do we want to be at the end of this? This is something that I've been debating a lot. Like, if AI does yield all this productivity gain, are we still going to be working 40-hour weeks? Plus, could we go to 4-day work weeks? Could we go to 3-day work weeks?
Oh, yes. I love this.
And those statistics have been coming out. We're probably going to get down to 2 or 3 day work weeks.
Oh, I think everyone would just love that, wouldn't they?
But they don't want their pay to go down.
No.
They just want their time to go down.
Yeah, they want their time to go down, but their pay to stay.
Look, I think this is something we've been predicting for years. You could actually go like back 100 years. John Maynard Keynes, he basically like 100 years ago said productivity is going to go like this and people are only going to be working 8 hours a week. He was right about one thing. Productivity did follow what he said was going to happen. He never stopped to think, oh my gosh, are people going to want to have all of these things? Like, you know, our houses are so much bigger. All of these things that as Americans and just as citizens of the world that we have made a conscious decision of like, well, we'd rather have more stuff, more vacations, more whatever, versus more time.
People love it when they can get a 3-day weekend around here. Imagine if your life was just a 3-day work week. Wouldn't that be just so great if we could incorporate that kind of lifestyle? That for me, I think AI has been around this entire time. We've been using AI when we're writing text and it auto generates, call me in a few, or things like that. I think what's really interesting though is the fact that it's more about the relationship between us and the technology, because we are, to your point, becoming more tech reliant. Instead of just figuring something out or maybe going to the library and getting a book to get an answer. Hey chat, when was this, revolution? And it just pops up and tells you everything you need to know about the revolution. Now, maybe there's some hallucinations that can sometimes happen, but for the most part, it will give you the answer that you're looking for in a very quick, fast way. I think what's also though interesting is as we incorporate technology, it's the personalization that it has. You watch Netflix, it knows what shows you like or what genres you're more interested in watching, so it recommends things. All of this stuff is so interesting and fascinating to me. I think the bigger conversation is also the impact that it has on us as a society, as a culture, and us as humans, how it is starting to slowly impact subtly how we make our decisions, because it's curating our social media feed. This autonomy versus individuality, it is this personalization against free thinking. And so it brings up a larger philosophical conversation.
The personalization of it all can definitely cause echo chambers, right? And then especially when we're talking about what you're interacting with on social media specifically, it can cause an echo chamber where then you start to think, that's the predominant opinion or messaging.
Yeah, because I know I've been on social media and I clicked a supercar. And then all of a sudden, when I went back to my feed, it was a bunch of supercars. Whoa. I like supercars, don't get me wrong. Algorithm, I know what you're trying to do here. And so let me go search something that I would want more on my feed to basically counteract the algorithm.
Yeah.
Look, and this is a really hard game for any of us to play. I think that's why the main thing that we frankly need from this is disclosure. Like, if you're talking to something online and it's not a human being, like, we should know that it's an AI. And let me give a very recent example of this. So on Reddit, there is a forum called, I think it's Change My Mind is the name of the forum on Reddit. So basically people will say, I think Donald Trump is horrible, change my mind, or the opposite. I think he's the greatest, change my mind, like whatever it is. Like, this is like a real open discussion where you have people on there saying, hey, I believe something, but I want to be open to other possibilities. Very fruitful. It's been, around for a long time. A researcher in the world of AI kind of got hold of this. And basically, so anybody has a tag, they can see what anybody has said on Reddit before. And they would train an AI model on what a person has said across Reddit. And given that, they would then have the algorithm try and change people's minds. And there's a scoring mechanism that you do if like, oh, actually, I see things a different way now. You changed my mind. The takeaway is it was 5 times more effective than any human was in doing this. Now, that could be used for good or that could be used for evil, and they never disclosed to the people on there until it was actually published that this was an AI that was doing this. So you have an AI convincing people to think in a different way. What is that going to mean for us?
So that's exactly what we're talking about. Is the point of the tech or the AI is to be a tool to make your life easier. But there's a fine line between that and then it's starting to kind of guide your opinions or.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for this day.
Or your beliefs.
And I think when I looked at the AI take, there really is the unintentional and the intentional use of AI. And then also, as AI revolutions our society even more, just like with any history in society, there's going to be a community of people that are intentional about opting out of the AI revolution and AI lifestyle.
And you should do a TV show on them.
Ultimately, I think that's exactly right. We're all going to have to define guardrails for ourselves. And these are personal decisions we're all going to make. My phone here, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. It's grayscale. I keep my phone, adding color to this thing, makes it way more addictive. And I'm very aware of that. So I have basically said, you know what? My phone is on grayscale at all times. Because otherwise I'm going to get sucked into things on my phone. And that was a conscious decision I had to make and kind of a boundary that I had to put up. And, there's things that people are doing all the time with their phones and social media and things like that. There are maybe parts of our lives where we're going to say, we don't want AI to touch that. We're not going to allow, Alexa or Siri in the bedroom. For all of us, we're going to have to make our decisions on what those boundaries are. Because if you do just kind of let it in everywhere, it will overtake. It will overtake your life. It will be too overwhelming. And then at some point it's oh gosh, have I lost all humanity? It's fine to use it for cooking, but I don't want it to make every decision in my life.
And you brought up also too, earlier you were joking about if one day your kids are going to come home with a boyfriend or girlfriend that's more like a AI avatar, if you will. But that is a reality that can definitely happen. Potentially, people need to be really aware of how they're interacting with technology and the emotional implications of that.
Absolutely. And I think there's already a meme that was going around a couple of weeks ago of saying, hey, that's awesome. I just got my promotion. I want to go tell ChatGPT about this.
Chat's so happy for you.
Of course it will be. It's trained to be that. But that is the beginnings of a real type of relationship and nothing that we've had before as humans with a thing, with a tool that is actually in many ways smarter than we ever are, is infinitely patient, is infinitely empathetic, could be tailored to, reaffirm all of our beliefs in whatever it is that we want. Again, it's going a little bit too far for what our own human being programming is willing to and able to tolerate. We've just never experienced anything like this before.
Yeah, I think there is going to need to be some level of education around the psychology and the human behavior and all of the implications when we talk about digital literacy as we're learning AI, and not just only teaching people about the practicalities and the basics and the programming and the coding of AI, but all of the subconscious aspects and elements of AI too. I want to pivot a little bit here, but I was curious, any insider knowledge about how are the tech bros within the tech world, how are they using AI on a daily basis, or the things that they may be tapping into AI for that the rest of us don't know about yet?
In the world of software engineering, it's gone really far, really fast. Google and Microsoft has said 20 to 30% of their code is already being generated by AI. I think Meta said it'll be up to 50% this time next year.
Yeah, we saw those stats too, which is crazy.
It is happening. And I think the thing that other folks don't realize is this is going to fairly quickly apply to other functional areas pretty soon. There's not San Diego State, but another school that I'm on the advisory board of, and we were just having a meeting last week and we're talking about internships. And as part of that discussion, I really wonder if like 2025 is going to be the last year of interns. Again, I'm sort of saying that at an extreme level, but the smartest people I know right now are not hiring as many people as they used to. And it's not from economic factors or anything like that. The skills that an intern or a recent college graduate are bringing in are pretty much on par with where language models are at today. And if the language models are there today, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, they're going to double, then they're going to double again, and they're just going to be getting so much better. So by 2026, we might have like a low-level crisis of college students trying to find internships in this world. And what is that going to actually mean for people who are in school today?
Yeah. And now there's also, with the rise of the AI agents and agentic AI,
Yes.
now there's the human workforce and the agent workforce. So that's also bringing up a lot of things. And to your point, potentially the opportunity to displace entry-level jobs. But do you think there's other opportunities that AI will bring for other careers, or will there be new careers that emerge?
Absolutely, there will. There will be jobs that exist in 5 years. What most of those jobs are, I don't know. The one job I absolutely positively know will exist is a solopreneur. Basically, you are a one-person entrepreneur. You might have 1,000 AI agents helping you out, building your product, helping with your services, talking to vendors, talking to customers, but you are kind of the orchestrator at the top. You are the person the tax man wants to collect from at the end of the year. You are the human that is kind of guiding all of these types of things. Like, that is a real business.
I know Aisha's often wondered if the solopreneur can make $1 billion company that way.
Yeah, it will be a solopreneur with a bunch of AI agents, and it's $1 billion company for sure. I think it can get there.
Mike, do you agree?
100%. I mean, even if you look at some companies today, Midjourney. So Midjourney is a great image generator. I think when they were kind of had the biggest lead out there, they were 8 people, I think, in the company. And supposedly it was like $50 to $100 million in revenue they were taking in, which, and they would not even take outside money. But at a valuation level, that's probably was easily $1 billion business with 8 people. So like, you kind of just keep putting that curve out of what it's going to be. And it's going to be 8 people, then it's going to be 4 people, and then it's going to be a one-person $1 billion business, no doubt.
In the last 30 days, there's been multiple headlines that have came out about 2 teenagers, high school students. You built an AI tool or AI platform, and now it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So we're already seeing more and more of those headlines and news and stats come out. So I think eventually we'll get there. For me, it's definitely going to be more interesting to see how the AI agents and the robotics start to impact our daily lives. Because right now we're still talking about us interacting with things. Once we have these AI agents and robotics in our homes doing it, that's the part for me where it's just going to be very, very interesting to see how that even changes our human daily lives with AI once we're talking about humanoids and AI interactions within our physical world. And that goes back to world data again and a world model. It's getting out of just our phones and our laptops and having it be a much more interactive experience with AI.
Well, I just want to make sure we don't forget to play our game.
Yes, we got to close out with our fun nickname game that we do every episode to induct our guests into the AI Chick Squad. Okay. Well, I like to always find inspiration from music and outside other things, world data. And so I thought about Drop the Mic.
Oh, okay. Yes, sure. I'll do it.
Okay, you like Drop the Mic?
The mic as in MIKE versus MIC.
I love Drop the Mic. I will take that.
Well, you know what?
Yes.
We didn't even ask him if he had any nicknames.
So I got called Tabasco so much when I was growing up that people got sick of calling me Tabasco, and they just started calling me Sauce. Sauce was my nickname for a good part of high school. I would just be, because Todasco to Tabasco to just call them Sauce.
Okay, well, we did do a couple off of your last name.
I
like
Tech
Dasco.
Yeah, we did Tech Dasco.
Ooh, that's good. That's pretty good.
Right?
I like that.
And then Mr. T.
I pity the fool that does not appreciate Mr. T.
Okay, so out of all of those,
we got Drop the Mic, we got Tech Dasco, we got Mr. T, and then we got his OG nickname from Tabasco to Sauce, to the Sauce. So which one do you want to stick with, Mike?
I'm going to go with Todasco.
Todasco in the house.
I like that. That was pretty damn good.
Okay, that's it. So Mike Todasco it is.
Welcome to the AI Chick Squad.
I am honored to be part of the squad.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we need to have part 2 and part 3 as AI evolves. And Mike, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed being on the AI Chicks.
I love being here. This is super fun. I got to get my kids calling me Todasco now.
There you go.
I'm going to literally require that at dinner tonight.
I love it. I love it. Hey, you all listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode as well. And make sure to follow us, subscribe. And what else, Lana?
Don't forget to grab the merch.
All right, y'all. Take care. Bye.
Listen to the AI Chicks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Video episodes are available on Patreon. And check out our socials at the AI Chicks.